Hello YouTube, welcome to another episode of Dominate the Game. This episode we're going to be featuring Wukong. We're going to be going over how to play him, his skills, abilities, some tips and tricks of Wukong, and just a basic general idea of how to become a better Wukong player. Alright, let's get this started. Alright, so to start off, I'm going to go over Wukong's passive and each one of his skills. So his passive is going to be called Stone Skin and increases Wukong's armor and magic resistance for each nearby enemy champion. And this is actually a really effective passive. I'll go more in depth for it later into the video though. Wukong's Q is going to be called Crushing Blow. It's kind of like a 3-for-1 right here. So this allows Wukong's next attack to do additional physical damage. It also gives him increased range from his basic auto attack range and reduces the enemy's armor for a short duration. Wukong's W is going to be called Decoy, and this allows Wukong to go invisible for 1.5 seconds while also leaving behind an uncontrollable decoy that does a little bit of magic damage after the 1.5 seconds expires. This allows Wukong to really outplay his opponents. It also allows him to escape ganks and initiate fights if he wants to as well. Wukong's E is going to be called Nimbus Strike, and this allows Wukong to dash to an enemy and to 2 additional enemies next to them, whether they be minions or champions. And this really allows Wukong to initiate fights with his ultimate, and it also gives Wukong a little bit of an attack speed buff, so it's also good for pushing towers if you can eat the minions next to them. Alright, so his ultimate is really what makes Wukong a unique character. It's going to be called Cyclone, and this allows his staff to grow outward and knock opponents up in the air. So he can knock the entire enemy team up in the air similar to a Malphite. Oh, and he also gains movement speed over the duration of the spell, so if someone's running away, you'll eventually catch up to them because you'll get increased movement speed from it. Alright, now that we've got the basics out of the way, let's talk runes and masteries. So basic rune page you can run for Wukong is going to be just 80 quints along with 80 marks, armor seals, and MR glyphs. Personally though, I don't really like to run this. My Wukong page consists of armor pen quints, AD marks, armor yellows, and magic resist glyphs. And I like to run this because Wukong's Q reduces armor. I like to put a black cleaver on him as well, and along with the armor pen quints, it's pretty much like you're doing true damage to them without really having to build too much AD. Alright, for masteries, most of the time I'm going to be running 921-0 because I like to be a little bit tanky in the top lane, especially with this stale sustain top lane meta. It's really good to have some extra sustain in there to be able to go up and up with them in the top lane. Alright, but enough with the boring stuff, let's get into some gameplay. So Wukong is really versatile because you can play him in the top lane as well as in the jungle. When you play him in the top lane, I like to max Q first, but when I play him in the jungle, I like to max E first because you get a greater wave clear in the jungle, and it's easier for you to clear all the camps. Playing jungle Wukong, your decoy is your secret weapon. As you just saw, I used my decoy just outside of the enemy range so I could get into there without them seeing me, allowing me to get my ult off and the kill on Thresh, and eventually we also get this kill on the Sin. It's the same thing when you're going to go gank lanes. You want to make sure you use your decoy outside of the enemy vision, allowing you to get into lanes stealth and allowing you to get your gank off. With the current patches and the way things are going, there's no oracles, and you can see the pink wards, which allows you to go into lane stealth and to get your gank off a lot easier than previous patches. When playing Wukong in the top lane, something to remember is your Q is an auto attack reset. So right here you can see me going for the trade on the enemy Wukong. I'm going to first auto attack him, then presume the Q right after that, allowing me to get my maximum damage out and winning the trade. Your Q also scales with AD pretty well and does a lot of base damage, so I recommend maxing this first as it will help you do a lot of damage in the top lane. Besides using your W as an invisibility, you can also use it to remove aggro off of you using it to tank Baron, buffs, and drag. Besides your skills dealing tons of damage, they're also great escape mechanisms. Right here as you see, Gragas is coming to gank me, and of course I can't 2v1 him because I'll lose. So my initial thought is I'm just going to take Yorick out with me, so this I can go 1-for-1 in the trade. Yorick tries to escape, but because the extra range my Q gives me allows me to get the kill, and with some nice micro in between the bushes allows Gragas not to auto attack me. Right here is a key moment. I push S to make Gragas think I use my decoy into the river, when really I use my decoy to run back up the river, allowing me to go into the bush to again juke Gragas some more, and allowing me to use my E dash to get away from Gragas, and eventually escaping the gank and coming out away with this with a 1 for free. Pushing S can really juke your opponent into believing that you're using your decoy to get away, when really you're just standing there the whole time and allowing yourself to W away in the other direction. Also, when trying to take towers, do not forget that your E gives you an auto attack boost, so if there's minions next to it, you can E the minions for the auto attack boost, and your Q also does bonus damage to towers. Even though Wukong does a whole bunch of damage, Sometimes you're just going to run into lane matchups where you just can't kill them because they have too much sustain or they're just too tanky. When things like this happen, don't panic, just try to outfarm your opponent and not die to them. Chances are in the team fight you'll be more useful than they will. Alright, and this is one thing that really makes Wukong stand out in its team fight presence. As you just saw, Amumu just went in and stunned 3 people on the enemy team, allowing me to dash in and knock them up as well, eventually going through the whole team and knocking everyone up. Along with Wukong's passive being Stone Skin, it really makes Wukong tanky without building a lot of tanky items, so it gives him a lot of armor and magic resist just from standing in the middle of the whole team. Items I do recommend building on Wukong are going to be Black Cleaver, because every time you spin, it's going to be shredding more armor in the enemy team and allowing you to do more and more damage with each spin. Alright, just a couple of cheeky tricks for you guys. If you are building Ravenous Hydra or even Tiamat, you can go to this spot right here, activate it, and jump over the blue buff in order to get away if someone is chasing you, and this works on both sides of the blue buff. So just a tip for you guys, if you're getting chased through the jungle, you can use this to help you guys escape. Another thing to notice is that when you are in your invisible form after you decoy, you can flash in order to get into a perfect position to ult and to knock the enemy team in the air, or do whatever cheeky things you're going to do with that as well. Although Wukong is a great champion, he does have his flaws like every other champion that's in the game, and there are champions that do counter him. For example, if you see a Lee Sin going in the top lane, it's probably not a smart idea to pick Wukong, or if you do have to play Wukong to this lane, just try to play it as safe as you can, because Lee Sin does a lot of high damage to you. He does outdamage you at the earlier levels. As well, when you go on your decoy, almost all of his skills can spot you out, and it ruins the whole sneaky aspect of Wukong. If you do ever find yourself losing lane, don't panic. What you gotta do is try to create picks, you know. You gotta do something, you gotta be proactive in the games. Try to roam, use your W to get into enemy lanes, try to gank mid, try to gank bot, try to gank other lanes, and try to help yourself really get back into the game. In terms of building Wukong, no situation is ever really going to be the same. Sometimes your team's going to need damage, sometimes your team's going to need a tank. When you need a bit of tanky Wukong, my items I recommend building are going to be Spirit Visage and Randuin's Omen. If you need to build more on the damage side, I do recommend building Black Cleaver, Hydra, and something like a Trinity Force. And all these items really help play to Wukong's strength, especially for the movement speed buff you do get from Trinity Force. Although if you're going to build a damage Wukong, I do not recommend going 100% Glass Cannon Wukong, because you're going to go in there, you're going to ult, knock everyone up, and before you even do enough damage, you're just going to get blown up. So I do recommend building at least a couple of defensive items even when you're building damage Wukong. When playing Wukong, honestly the best thing to do is to just practice with him. Take him into some normal games and see what you like to do. See how your playstyle is. See if you want to build a more damage or more tanky base, you know. The beauty of Wukong is his kit allows you to do either. You can build a more damage or you can build a more tanky. It's really all up to you. And the best thing to do is just practice. See what you like the most, see what you like the best, and apply some of the tips I showed you guys today. It's really all up to you how you want to play Wukong. He's such a versatile champion. There's such a high learning curve to him. Alright, well that's pretty much going to be it. Thanks for watching, guys. And with a little bit of practice, you too will soon be dominating the game with Wukong. Alright, take it easy, YouTube.